theyeshiva.net.
So a good chodesh to alle men, to alle von euch Teire Talmidim, Teire Bachnem, Teire Mishpachas und Chaverim und Kreuven von den Niftarim. Ksiva v'achsime Teuve, to alle von euch a good gebencht Jahr, Shana Teuve Sukkah, B'Teuv HaNideh v'Hanigle Lachem u'Lachol Beis Yisrael. And here in Monsey, it's still morning or afternoon, early afternoon. I know most of you are in Eretz Yisrael, so good evening to you. It's already the second day of Rosh Chodesh, Elul. And Reb Moshe Tzvi, who I know is behind the whole Chaburah in the Mir, reached out to me a few days ago after the terrible, terrible tragedy and asked if I could if I bring with you Chevra a little bit via Zoom. So even though we're Berichuk Makam Gashmi, but Bekiruv Makam Ruchni. I also know that we have here some of the family members, some of the parents or other family members of the three precious boys who were killed. So first and foremost, I just, together with all of Klal Yisrael and all of our brothers and sisters in Eretz Yisrael and the whole world, want to express our words of condolences and comfort and nechumim to the parents, to the brothers, to the sisters, to all of the kroivim, all the family members, zaydas, babas, uncles, aunts, cousins, and of course the close friends for this devastating, devastating tragedy that is still so fresh in everybody's mind. Just a little while after the plane crash, to the family of and the friends of Amram Fromowitz, Zechrona Livracha, here, my landslide in Monsey, to the family of Eliezer Brill, Zechrona Livracha of Williamsburg, and of course to the family of Yisrael Tzvi, Hershy Weiss of London. So thank you all for gracing us here with your presence, and thank you to Rabbi Moshe Tzvi for arranging it, and thank you to all the Bachrim for joining us. I know many of you are up north in Eretz Yisrael. So thank you for being here with us. Just a few points that I want to really make. You probably heard a lot over the last week, and probably you're already sick and tired of speeches and of drashas. I'm speaking in English just because I know there's a different type of this. We have from England, and we have from Eretz Yisrael, and we have from New York, and from different parts of America. So I'm speaking in English, so I hope everybody will be able to understand that. I can read enough Yiddish, but I think maybe English would be a little better because I don't know exactly who's on our group, and I want everybody certainly to be able to understand. So the first thing I want to share with all of you, Tayed Bachrim, is that you all experienced a deep wound. I remember when I was 14 years old, a little younger than you guys, I was in a van accident in camp in the summer, and one of my very close friends was killed. We were only 14 years old, 1 year after Bar Mitzvah. It was a van, it went from camp. We went on a trip, amusement park, and on the way home, the van fell off a cliff. And this boy, a very close friend of mine, I grew up with him. His name was Label Khan. He was killed. It was Beis of Tovshin Mem Vav, right before Tisha B'Av, 1986. And, till today, it's been a lot of years. Tovshin Mem Vav is what? Nun Vav Samach Vav Ayin Vav. It's 35 years, literally 35 years this year. But I always remember that. And when I go to the cemetery sometimes and I visit his grave, which I did a week or two ago when I was there, Montefiore Cemetery in Queens, I stand there at his matzeva, I say a kapitel Tehillim, and it's been 35 years, but I think to myself, he was only 14 when he was killed, 14. We all, his classmates, grew up. Most of us got married, built families. And, you wonder why these things happen, why his life was cut when he was 14. And of course, there's really no answer to any of these. We don't have answers to these questions. These are the mysteries of every neshama that comes down and has its journey that it takes. The family it's born to, the parents that raise it, who raise it, its brothers and sisters, the yeshivas, the schools they go to, the places they end up in, the journeys they take, the unique personalities that they have. And then the time that the Rebbeinu Shalom takes their neshama back. It says, Vayipach ba'apav nishmas chayim. Hashem blew a neshama into Adam and into every person. Basically, birth is Hashem exhaling. And death is Hashem inhaling. He takes back that neshama, back to him. But who understands? Wer kann verstehen? The mysteries of every neshama, of every journey, of every life, of every soul. We just stand in awe and in pain to such an experience. Now here it's not just one of your friends, it's three of your friends. And that Moshe Tzvi was telling me earlier about the character of these three boys, Amram, Eliezer, and Hershy. Amram Fromowitz, Eliezer Brill, and Hershy Weiss. How beloved they were, how lebedik. He told me how normal they were. I guess in today's world, that's a chiddush, right? How balanced, how friendly, how integrated, and how lovable all of them were, each in their own way. And how close they were with all of you, chavedim, and of course with their families. It's a devastating tragedy, and this is a wound that doesn't heal. People say, you get over it. Some people don't get over it. It's a wound that stays. It's a very deep wound, especially those of you who are sensitive and those of you who are very loving. These are very, very deep wounds. And it's important to acknowledge that. It's not a small story. This is a very, very deep wound. And even when we have emunah and we have bitachon and we have hope and we give each other chizuk, but it's important to acknowledge that the pain is very powerful, and don't judge it. Don't judge any emotions that you're having. Feel comfortable to cry and feel comfortable to laugh and feel comfortable to cry to each other and feel comfortable to express your emotions. You don't have to hold it in, because it's very, very, very difficult to lose a loved one at such a young age, 19 years old, 20 years old, under such circumstances in Ukraine in an airplane. They were going to, enjoy the scenery a little bit, enjoy some adventures in life. And such a krach, such a catastrophe, such a tragedy. It's really very, very hard to digest. I'm sure some of you wake up in the morning and you think, oh, it's just a bad dream, it's a bad joke. And soon you'll get a call or a text that they're fine and they're just having a good time and this was color war. But sadly, it wasn't color war or bog war. And it wasn't just a sad joke, funny, weird, sad, dark joke. It's part of reality. So the first thing I want to tell all of you is honor your emotions. Respect the fact that this is a difficult time. It's not an easy time. You're going through pain and you don't have to be embarrassed by it. And you don't have to judge it. And you don't have to criticize it. And you don't have to tell yourself, if I would be a more ehrliche Bucher, als ich wollte gewinnen mehr achsidische Bucher, oder als ich wollte gewinnen a größere Oived Hashem, als ich wollte gewinnen a größere Masmid, wollte ich gehad mehr Minne. Don't do that. Don't judge yourself. Respect whatever emotions come up. There's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. A Mishnah in Sanhedrin, some of you may have learned it. Even somebody who was killed by Bezdin, and there's no Shiva. There's no regular Avelis. Because there's Mrs. Bezdin. It's a Mishnah in Sanhedrin. The Mishnah says that you can't tell the family not to grieve. Nicht zu klagen, nicht zu treuen. She'ein aninus ela belev. Because it's in the heart. You can't tell somebody what to feel, what not to feel. They'll say it in Yiddish. The heart hat ihre eigene halachas. The heart has its own halachas, which means the heart's for Nayid filled. And that's Al Pi Torah. Torah tells us that we feel, we experience, and we experience deep pain, and we can't deny that. So that's number one. Respect your emotions. And not only today, tomorrow and next week and next month. Things will come up, especially there's the parents here. You're going to go into your son's bedroom. You sit at the Shabbos table. Yom Tov comes up, Shabbos comes up, milestones of the family comes up. And a flood of tears comes raging out of your system, flowing out of your neshama, out of your heart, out of your mind. Because all these milestones in life bring up and they trigger all these warm and sweet memories. And it's sometimes little things, You see a shirt or a pair of socks, or you have a memory, or you see a picture, or you see a video, you see a telephone number on your phone, you see a telephone number, and it brings it all up. And that's part of it. We have to respect it and not judge it. Do not judge it. There's also a second point I want to say, and that's the mystery of it. These are things we cannot wrap our brain around. We try to understand life. We like to understand things. Especially Yeshiva Bachrim are trained to think. Gut verstehen die Mishnah, und gut verstehen die Sugya, und gut verstehen die Gemara, und gut verstehen die Tosfos, und gut verstehen Rashi, und der Ran, und der Rashba, und der Ramban, und der Bekivegi, und der Maram Schiff. Und sagt auch in der Mir, gut verstehen die Chidush Reb Nochem, Chidush Reb Chaim. Will doch gut verstehen. Yeshiva Bachrim will verstehen. And there are those things that we could understand, at least according to our ability, and we try to understand it. Yidiyas HaTorah, Havanas HaTorah, V'Gisim B'Yom V'Layla. But there's also things that we just don't understand. Reb Moshe Leib Soseva once said, the Halakha Reb Moshe Leib Soseva, we say in the Slichas and Al-Chet, some people say it, Krishma Shalamita, Ata Yodeya, Rozei Oilam V'Saluma Yisisrei Cholchoi. You know the secrets of the world. Ata Yodeya, Reb Moshe Leib Gizak. Rozei Torah, the secrets of Torah. There are some great minds and great tzaddikim and gedoshim and talmidei chachamim who know them. But Rozei Olam, the secrets of the world, so only Ata Yedei, only you know. Rozei Torah, there are some people know, not many, but there are people who know Rozei Torah, the secrets of Torah. But Rozei Olam, Ata Yedei Rozei Olam. Only you know Rozei Olam. This is something that completely transcends our limited hasaga. Yes, we learn lessons from it, and we all look into our lives, and we all hold life much more precious. Like the Rambam says in Hilchos Tainiyos, when something happens, we should always go internally and learn from it in any way possible. But we still understand that whatever we understand is really meaningless relative to the truth of it. The truth of it is infinite. It's Bli Gvul, it's Ein Sof. We can't understand Ein Sof. Our brains can understand what goes into our brain. You can't expect that a 4-year-old boy will go into the shir of a Rosh Yeshiva in the sugya of Takvay Kayin and understand the shir. He's a 4-year-old boy, barely knows the language. Sometimes even an 18-year-old boy or a 19-year-old boy doesn't understand the word the Rosh Yeshiva is saying. I don't mean your Chaburah, but I mean sometimes other Chaburas or other shiurim. And that's only a boy and a Rosh Yeshiva. And maybe one day this boy will be greater than a Rosh Yeshiva. The difference between them is a few years, and it's a limited difference. Still, you don't expect that your 3-year-old or 4-year-old brother or sister should go into the shir of a Gon Olam and understand what he's saying. It's not fair. They're going to tell you it's boring, it doesn't make sense. But that's only a limited difference. When you're talking about a human being, a Basav Adam, whose brains was created by Hashem, and you want the creation should understand the Creator, it's impossible. It's impossible. It would be like saying that this mic should understand the one who created it. Even if he could understand something. We have brains. Our brains can understand a lot of things, and it's an amazing gift. But we have to understand that you're dealing here with infinity, Ein Sof Mamash, something that completely transcends our capabilities. And it's important to respect that, to know and understand that we really don't understand. And let's not make it small. Let's not reduce it to something that we can comprehend. We could stand in awe and mystery of something that I simply cannot comprehend. It's above me. It's beyond me. And what does it trigger in me? It triggers in me awe, mystery, pain, tears, and grief. A lot of grief. This is a time of, it's Eis Lispoit. It's a time of grief. It's a time of mourning for these boys. In halacha, there's shloisha l'bchi, there's shiva l'hesped, there's shloishim. There's different stages. And each stage, the Torah acknowledges that we have to respect all the experiences that we go through. I want to say something else. I want to make another point about this. And that is, it's so important to be able to understand that sometimes people don't understand what you're going through. And they make comments that are insensitive. I'm saying this both to the friends and to the family members. Sometimes people will tell you, just go on. The neshama is in a good place. It's true, the neshama is in a good place. Neshama is in Olam Amas. But somebody just tells you, just go on, move on with life. And you're feeling that they really don't understand you. And you know what? Some people really will not understand. They may mean well, but they just don't understand. I'm sure over Shiva, there were comments made. Some people make wise comments. Some people are even wiser, so they're quiet. And some people say sometimes things that are, feels like it came out of Chelm. You'll forgive me. I'm laughing because it's sometimes funny, People mean well. Yisrael zayin rachmanim, baishanim gaim lechasadim. But like somebody once said, Yidden zayin naza am chachim v'novin. If the am chachim v'novin will not gehat a bissel asaychel, right? Sometimes you can be chachamim u'nevoinim. But people don't always know what to say. So it's important to know that sometimes people say the wrong things. And you have to be honest with who you are and what you need. Which brings me to the next point. It's so important to have a support system, people who support you. Bachrim, chaverim, talk to each other, verbring with each other. If you need a support system, get it. Some people maybe don't need it, but if you need it, don't be embarrassed. Whether it's a friend, whether it's a mashpia, whether it's a Rosh Yeshiva, whether it's a therapist, whether it's a psychiatrist, whether it's a psychotherapist, whether it's a coach, whether it's a confidant, whether it's a Rosh Chaburah, a mechanech, a Rosh Yeshiva, whatever it is. But if you need a few people, maybe, but don't feel bad that you need a support system. This is a very serious journey, and this is a time that everybody needs the koyach and the chizuk to be able to deal with it. It's very, very hard. It's very difficult. You're not the only one, trust me. These are difficult experiences, and we're living today in a time when there's a lot going on, and people are very sensitive, and people sometimes think, Bachrim are not sensitive, but you, Bachrim, know that you are sensitive. People sometimes think, Bachrim, they're strong, they're macho, starke chevre light. Yeah, ihr seid starke chevre, und gitte chevre, und mächtige chevre, und glanzende chevre, und gewaltige chevre. And I can give mehr shvochen, but that will leave for the shatche. But you're also very sensitive. You're sensitive people. You have hearts, you have souls. And therefore you take it in. So it's important, if you need a support system, to get that support system. You say, yeah, but Shiva is over, it's already 2 weeks, it's a week, it's 2 weeks, it's time to move on. Ben Azmanim is finishing, we're going back to Yeshiva soon, so kommt ein neues Jahr. But the pain is still in the heart. So when you need a support system, that's completely fine, respect it. I want to say something else, and that is to the boys, all the chavedim. It's very important for you to be here for each other. I know that the last week and two, you really were here for each other. You became united like family, because many of you were in Ukraine. I know more than 40 boys went to Ukraine and were there, or were around the area where the tragedy happened. Some of you were not there. But the last 2 weeks really united you very, very deeply. And I'm asking you and suggesting to you, keep up that unity. Because the Dibuk Chaverim, and the Pilpula Talmidim, and the Matoivim Anoyim Sheves Achim Gam Yachad, is what allows people to go through pain. Be here for each other. Verbringt zusammen. Schmues zusammen. Red zusammen. Lernen zusammen. Daven zusammen. Weint zusammen. Lacht zusammen. Aber be together. Seid zusammen. Yeah, and like the famous word, the Bayana Rebbe has told somebody, Hini Matoivim Anoyim Sheves Achim Gam Yachad, is what's Gam Yachad. Gam, Hini Matoivim Anoyim Sheves Achim Yachad. What is Gam Yachad? Said Gam Yachad is Gam Yesh Chilukei Deis. Yachad. Yesh Chilukei Deis. Gam Yachad. Afil asad Chilukei Deis. In other words, let me tell you something. No two people grieve in the same way. Jeden einem Savelis is anders. Ein Woche macht Jokes a ganze Tag. A ganze Tag macht er Jokes. What when it happened? Other people don't make jokes. They get very serious. The fact is, every person mourns differently. Also in a family, every brother, every sister, every parent. What the father experiences is not what the mother experiences. Yes, we're all in the same ocean, but we're not all in the same boat. We're all in the same storm, but we're not all in the same boat. Some people's boats float this way, and some people's boats float this way. And you have to respect that. Gam yesh chilukei dayos, but to be matayv u'manayim. You may have a brother or a friend who grieves differently. They have different experiences. They like to be more humorous, or they like to be more emotional, they like to be more dramatic, or they cry more, or they cry less, or they like telling stories. That's fine. Respect your own emotions and respect other people's emotions. That's perfectly fine. But the most important thing is to be united. The Chaburah should be united, to be able to be mechazik each other, to be able to be here for each other, and not to judge. Really, don't judge each other. It's a very, very vulnerable time. Give people the respect to be able to experience this in their own unique and individual way, because every person has their shlichus and their personality and their seichel and their midas. There's another point, I think another very important point that I would like to make about this. And that is, moving on doesn't mean we forget. Moving on in life doesn't mean you forget about what happened, you make believe it never happened, it was a plane crash, nishkach, let's go on, we're going back to this man, we're going back to the Mir, we're going to start the new man with a new chiyas, with anayas, chachus, as though it never happened. That's cruel, that's not fair, it's not true. Of course it happened. And for the rest of your life, you're going to remember that it happened. And let me tell you something. One day, you're going to lead your daughter to the chuppah. It's going to be many years from now. And you're going to remember your friend, I'm telling you. You're going to remember. You're going to remember that in very interesting times. These things we don't forget, especially those who are really close to them and really love them. Moving on does not mean you forget. You don't forget anything. Moving on means you remember, and a part of you is broken, and a part of you cries, and a part of you will miss them forever, till your last breath. Yeah, that's how it is. You don't tell a mother and a father never forget a child, and a brother and a sister don't forget a brother and sister, and a good friend doesn't forget a good friend. What happens is you learn that despite the pain, together with the pain, we, each and every single one of us, has a mission of why our neshama is here. Their mission was completed. Why, how it happened, I don't know. But each one of us has our mission to bring in light and love and beauty and holiness into the world. And that mission continues. And here, I want to speak a little bit about guilt. I know that some of you have guilt. Why them? Why not me? Why did this happen when they took the journey in the airplane, not when we took a journey? We did the same thing a day before or an hour before. But we also wanted to have fun in the skies. Also, people feel guilty because so many things happen. This worked out this way, worked out that way. And it's called survivor's guilt. It's a very, very normal thing. It's a very normal thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful word from the Chidushei Harim. Beautiful word from the Chidushei Harim. The Chidushei Harim says like this. So the Yeshiva Bachim, you'll appreciate it. The Gemara says about Metzia Daf Samach Beis. I don't know which Masechta you learned this year, but you may have learned this. Rav Metzia Samach Beis, it's Machloikas Ben Peturi Rabbi Akiva. If two people are going on a hike with a canteen of water, and one of their canteens is empty, and the only other person has water, and there's only enough water for him to survive, he can't share it with his friend, because if he shares it with his friend, they'll both die. There's not enough water for both of them. So either he gives it to his friend and he dies, or he drinks it himself and his friend dies from thirst. Now you'll ask me a question, why didn't they take along their phones on the hike? This is a Gita Kasha, you'll figure that out in Yeshiva. You'll ask it at the Chaburah why they didn't take along their phones. But in any case, what's the halacha? What do you do? So Ben Petura says, Al yireh b'misaseh shel chaveira. You can't watch another Jew die. V'hafta l'recha kamaycha. Share the water with him. Ad Chaburah b'kiva. Ad Chaburah b'kiva. When Rabbi Akiva had gesagt, V'chei achicha imach. In Parshas Bahar it says, your brother should live with you. Melamed chayecha koidmin. Your life comes first. Give your brother life with you. You have to first make sure you're alive. So by giving him water, you're not going to live. There's no chiyuv. If you want to give him the water and let him live, fine, you tzaddik. But chayecha koidmin, you could keep the water for yourself and you live. Good. Gevaldike Maram Shiv there. Maram Shiv asks a Gevaldike Kasha. It's a stidel l'chayra to the Gemara in Kedushin Yodalad, yesterday's parsha, which says Ki toiv lo imach, and from there you learn that what? Imach b'maychel, imach b'maychel. You have to treat an eved divri just like you treat yourself. Whatever you have, he has to have it. If you don't have it, if he doesn't have it, you can't have it either. Koyin eved divri, koyin adan latzma. If there's one piece of sushi, the eved gets it. So here we teach that you come first, and over there we teach that the Eved comes first. Maram Shiv gives 4 answers, but it's not for this shir. Those of you who want could look up the Maram Shiv afterwards. Interessante Maram Shiv. Alle Maram Shivs are interessant, but this is special. Ask the Chidushi Harim, a gewaldige kasha. Why doesn't the Gemara say it's Machlokes Ben Petura Oimer, Rabbi Akiva Oimer, like you have in the whole Shas? Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Rabbi Meir Oimer, Rabbi Shimon Oimer, Rabbi Yossi Oimer, Rabbi Akiva Oimer. Ad Chaburah b'Akiva, till the Akiva came. Say that Akiva Oimer. No, you're allowed to take it for yourself. Chayecha koidmin. Chidush Harim asks. You know what he answers? Half of a fella. The Chidush Harim says, Tayere b'Achrim. Nobody can argue with Ben Petura. You know why? The yisoid of all the Tanoim and Ameirayim is emes. It's never about an agenda, my agenda, ich will. It's about emes, Torah's emes. Here's the problem. Ben Petura said, share the canteen of water with your friend so that he will drink and you will drink even though you both die. Anybody who argued with Ben Petura, there was a chashash that they're negeya b'davar. Because if it happens to them, maybe they don't want to share the canteen because they want to live. I want to live. I don't want to die. So we're not sure if their shita is coming from MS or it's coming because I have a negiya, because I have a bias, because I'm a shuch. Ad Chaburah b'Akiva. Basically, come in Rabbi Akiva. Who's Rabbi Akiva? Rabbi Akiva says in Brachas, Amachalaf Amid Beis, when the Romans were killing Rabbi Akiva, Sark was part of Maseikas Shal Barzlan. He was saying, Shema Yisrael, Amalei Tamid of Atkan. So Rabbi Akiva said, Kol Yomai. My entire life, I used to see I would say, V'havtas Hashem Elokecha b'chol nafshecha, v'lenetlas nafshecha, Mosey Yovel Yodi v'akaimenu. My whole life, I wanted to experience Mesiras Nefesh. Now that I have an opportunity, you don't want me to grab it? Says the Chidush Harim, Rabbi Akiva's whole life was afilu noitlas nafshecha, Mesiras Nefesh. When he said Chayecha Koidmin, you could trust him. This is emes. This is not coming from Sheikh. Rabbi Akiva loves the world. He loves Olam Hazeh. He wants another day in this world. Rabbi Akiva's whole life was Mosey Yovel Yodi v'akaimenu. When Rabbi Akiva said Chayecha Koidmin, you could trust him that this is Torah's emes. Rabbi Akiva didn't say Chayecha Koidmin because he was selfish, because he wanted to hold on to his goof and his physical life. Rabbi Akiva said Chayecha Koidmin because that's what Torah wants, and that's the halacha. The halacha is Chayecha Koidmin. Why am I saying this to you? I'm saying this to you because sometimes we have guilt, and we have to realize, what is Rabbi Akiva saying? Rabbi Akiva is saying, if you were given the gift of life, it means that this is your divine shlichus, chalila, to experience this guilt. The Rebbeinu Shalom still wants your soul here. Say, why not those 3 souls? I don't know. I don't know about a neshama. You know about a neshama. We don't know why people die. We also don't know why people are born. It's not just we don't know why they die, we also don't know why they're born. You know why somebody was born, when they were born, for how long? You don't know this. All of life is a mystery. So Rabbi Akiva says, if you're alive, Chayecha Koidmin, this is your mission, this is your shlichus, this is your sacred divine opportunity. It's not about being selfish, like I'm alive, I get to eat shalent, I get to eat kugel, I get to eat toyameh, I get to be in the mir, I get to grow up. My parents get to have me. It's a normal feeling, it's a normal emotion, but realize this is not just about your selfishness. This is because you have a job in this world. You have a mission to transform the world, beginning with yourself, to bring in light into the space. Every neshama has its unique shlichus. And with sensitivity and humility, it's important to respect that. I'm going to say one last point, and then we're going to open up the floor to questions. My last point is this. There's a normal feeling, and it's a normal feeling, that it becomes very uncomfortable with the families of those who were killed. The families of Amram, and of Eliezer, and of Hershy. But it's important for you, Bachrim, to reach out to them. Send them letters. Call them, the mothers, the fathers. Share with them your memories. Because it's very, very comforting for parents, for brothers and sisters, to be able to have that connection. I know it's sometimes uncomfortable. I remember when my friend was killed in the class, nobody told this to us. Then today, the bringt dann ein therapist, with psychologin, with Rabbi YY to call you. But then, but nicht get that. There was tough shema involved. Nobody was good as therapy, nothing. So we were very uncomfortable with the parents. Don't be uncomfortable with the parents. Talk to them. I'm telling you, all of you, I know there's a Chaburah of 70 chevra, 80 chevra in the Mir, especially those who are close. Call up the father, call up the mother, write them a letter, do both, and stay in contact. It means a lot for them, because you're there. You were with their sons, and you were close to their sons. It means a lot. It means a lot. Tell them about the journey to Ukraine. Tell them about the last days. Tell them about the last year in the yeshiva. I don't know how long you know them. But stay, it means a lot for the family that you stay connected to them. Don't avoid them. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be awkward. I know it's hard. For some of us, it's like not comfortable. What am I going to say? You don't have to say anything. Just show up, be present. Just tell them that you're thinking about them and how difficult it's for them. You know how difficult it is and how difficult it is for you. And that means a lot to parents. It means a lot to siblings to have that connection. So that's why I'm encouraging you to do it. At last, I want to say to all of you, Tayyid Bachrim, we live in a very mysterious world. We live in a very, very difficult world. We live in a very confusing world. Trust me. And you don't have to trust me. You know this on your own. Unfortunately, at a too young age, you've seen a lot. And it's very, very important to be able to hold on strong and realize life does not come without pain. Life comes with pain. But we have to choose how we're going to live every day and what we're going to focus on. I could wake up in the morning and I could say, this is a meshuggah Welt, this is a crazy, tragic world, let me go back to sleep. You could do that. And you know what? I'm not going to judge you. There are people who do that. Let me say a l'chaim, let me get drunk, let me play on a phone for a half a day just to distract myself. You could do that. People do that all the time. It's called numbing the pain. What I want to encourage you is to do something much more courageous. Wake up in the morning and say, it's a meshuggah Welt. It's a painful world. It's a sad world. But I'm going to do my part in bringing more happiness to this world, in bringing more joy to this world, in making more people smile in this world. This is a choice every one of us makes every single day. It's not a choice that comes from ignorance. It's a choice that comes from deep awareness that we live. Wir leben in a Welt, was ist sehr finster. Und einmal depressing. And you and I have to make a choice. The choice is either I wake up and I say, this is a crazy, sick place, let me go back to sleep, or no. I'm going to do my part to bring more love, more light, more hope, more smiles, more joy, more meaning, more holiness, more goodness, more godliness into this world. I bless you and I send you all my love and all my brachas that each of you, Hashem should give you each the chizuk, the koyach, the chiyus you need to be able to go through this tkufa and to emerge from it with dignity, with power, with strength, and that the tragedy should not only not weaken you, but the tragedy should strengthen you to realize how precious every moment is, how precious every day is, how precious every week and month and year is, how precious life is, and how each and every single one of us is here on a mission. And sometimes you're not in the mood of doing it for yourself. Do it for your three friends, for Amram, for Eliezer, for Hershy. Do it for them. Because remember that their neshamas now in Olam Ha'emes still are connected to each of you. They will always remain connected to each of you. Neshamas don't forget their loved ones, according to most of the Svarim. And when you do something positive in their memory and in their tribute, it means so much to them. And this is what I would also suggest practically is that every day, each and every one of you should take just 5 or 10 minutes and do something for them. Maybe learn a Mishnah, 2 Mishnahs, a Perik Mishnayos, half a Perik, but understand it. I remember when I was sitting Shiva, my father died, he was 70. And I was very, very, very broken. And a good friend of mine called me. He lost his mother when he was 14. And he told me that after he lost his mother, he was the oldest of 11 children. The oldest, and she died suddenly in her 30s and left all the kids. And the youngest were twins. They were still nursing. And he was 14. He was the b'char. You imagine? The b'char. It was such a tragedy. He told this to me on the phone the last day of my shiva for my father, Zecharna L'Bracha. 16 years ago. And he told me that he wrote a letter to the Lubavitcher Rebbe, and the Rebbe told him that he should learn 1 Perik Mishnayos every single day. He told me he didn't know if it meant for the year or it meant for the rest of his life. So he was learning a Perik Mishnayos every day. And he told me I should do the same thing. And you know what? I started to learn a Perik Mishnayos. Slow, good gelernt, upgeteicht. I know some pastors Mir Yeshiva Bochum to learn a Perik Mishnayos, but trust me, it's a good thing. Finish the Perik Mishnayos, 2 Mishnahs, but learn it well. Chazer it. Don't chap malachim. Don't fly. Learn it slow, well, gruntig, durchgetracht. Just understand the Mishnah. First of all, every single Amud Gemara has a big percentage of it as quotes of Mishnayos. So when you know the Shisha Siddur Mishnah, weißt du schon a größer chelik von Shas. Imagine if any piece of Gemara you come to, you already know every Mishnah the Gemara quotes. It's a different type of Gemara. But besides that benefit that people don't realize, the benefit of an Oy Mishnayos, for these boys, for Hershy, for Eliezer, for Amram, learn every day something for them. Or give tzedakah every day for them. Or do a mitzvah every day for them. Or learn something else every day for them. Or say a tefillah every day for them. Or do a ma'aseh tov every day for them. Every day, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. This is your time dedicated to your chavedim, to their neshama. First of all, it gives them a tremendous nachas ruach in Olam Ha'emes. It'll give you a tremendous nachas ruach, and it's going to keep the connection alive and real. Tayere chevra, chazak, chazak, v'niz chazek. If I could be here for any of you in the future, any of the families or any of the chavedim, Rabbi Moshe Tzvi has my number. You could reach out to me directly or through email. And I'm happy to be here for you in any way I can now or in the future. Please take this as a personal invitation. If anybody has an individual question or anybody needs help and you feel that I personally could be of help, I'm always happy to be here for you, sending you my love and my blessings and best wishes that we should all have the koyach that we need. And the main thing is we should experience Geula Shleima and Hikitza V'rananu Sheichne Afar V'heim B'Seicham B'mhei Rabbi Yameinu Amen Amen B'Karav Mamash. Let me take questions. Okay, I see some people ask questions on chat, so I'll start with that. But if you want, you can unmute yourself, and I'll respond to you as well. Let me begin. I am a mother in New York. Okay, before I take the questions, number 1, you could put it on chat. Number 2, you can unmute yourself and speak. Number 3, you can text it to Rabbi Moshe Tzvi, and he's forwarding me questions already. Question 1. I'm a mother in New York. My son is in the Chaburah in the Mir as part of the Chaburah of Eliezer and Amram and Hershy. He shared the link with me. I want to thank you for your beautiful direct words spoken from the heart. My son lost a close friend, and I'm grateful that he gets to hear your words, which are real and authentic. Okay, I guess that wasn't a question, but I thank you very much for your feedback. That means a lot. We are writing 3 Sifrei Torah. Moshe writes, we're writing 3 Sifrei Torah for the 3 boys, for Amram Fromowitz and Eliezer Brill and Hershy Weiss. Can you please expand on what that means for the neshama? Because it hurts to think that that's all that's left. And I see in the chat, somebody put in a link to the charity campaign, I guess for the families or for the 3 Sifrei Torah, whatever it is. Okay, that's very special. So it's a wonderful question. And obviously, a Jew is compared to a Sefer Torah. We know the Gemara speaks about every Jew like a Sefer Torah. Megala Mukas says, Yisrael is yesh shishim ribui oisis l'Torah. Every Yid has an ois in the Torah. So writing a Sefer Torah is not just writing a Sefer Torah, it's also immortalizing the Neshamas Yisrael in the Sefer Torah. And that Sefer Torah becomes an eternal tribute to them. And let's remember, there's Sifrei Torah and there's also Lebedik Sifrei Torah. Every child is a Sefer Torah. Every Yiddish Bachadil is a Sefer Torah. Every Yiddish Meidel is a Sefer Torah. So we write Sifrei Torah in memory of the Neshamas, and we also invest in the living Sifrei Torah, because each one of you is a living Sefer Torah that continues in your own way the connection with these very special and powerful souls. So thank you. People are asking questions about the fact that we feel regret. A lot of the Bochrim say they have so much regret. They could have stopped the plane ride. Some of them are convinced. Some of them convinced the Niftarim to go with the plane ride. And that maybe wasn't the safest thing to do. We feel so guilty that we convinced some of these boys who were killed to go on the plane ride, because some of them by nature would not do it, and we had to convince them. And we feel horrible. We feel charata. We feel that we're partially responsible. It's a good question. McKen Venen. So here's the deal. This is a normal feeling. It's a normal feeling. If somebody convinced somebody to go to a chasana, to go on a road trip, and they were killed, it's a very, very powerful feeling of regret. But let me ask you a question. If you would have even had a 1% suffix that this could have happened, you would have never convinced them. You would have convinced them out of it, even if they wanted to go. You thought everybody does it. People do it constantly. It's like people go to Miran and Lag Ba'omer, right? There were people who told their children, go to Miran. They told their husbands, go to Miran, Avada, go to Miran. If anybody would have had a 1%, 2% suffix that this is what's going to happen, of course we would look at it differently. And the same in Karlin. If you would go shvuas to the Karlin, to Stoliner Rebbe, and who doesn't go to Chassidish? You all of you come from Chassidish houses. 2 of the boys from Satmar and 1 of the boys from Vishnitz. There's bleachers, and tanis, and springt, and zinkt, and davint, and lernt, and fabringt. If you would have had even 1% suffix in your mind that this can happen. Well, I don't mean 1%. I mean, everything can happen always. Every car you go into, something can happen. But I mean, if you had any serious suffix that these boys could be killed, you would have never convinced them. You just convinced them because you thought you're going to have a good time. When you go to an amusement park and the kids are scared to go on the roller coaster, and you say, come on. What do you want them to have fun. What happens if chas v'shalom, sometimes something happens to a roller coaster? So to really blame yourself that you're guilty, that your intention was simply they should have a good time. That was your intention. So it's important to remember that. You had no idea. You're not a Navi, and you don't have Ruach HaKodesh, and none of you had any slightest knowledge that this could have happened. It shocks all of us. It shocks all of us. People do this. They go with planes. Now, what happened on the airplane? I don't know exactly. Why did the pilot allow these types of maneuvers? Ich weiß nicht. I don't know the details. I didn't investigate it. It's not really my field. But one thing I know, guys, I understand that you have regrets. But the truth is that there was no possible way that you could have known. It's mamish like telling a boy, come on the roller coaster, we'll have a good time, and then something happens to the roller coaster. You thought you're paying a pilot money, he knows what he's doing, he says he's doing this for years. So you had the best of intentions. There's something here that's beyond us. We can't take credit for this tragedy, I'm sorry. Yes, should people maybe be more careful in the future of these types of things? There's a lot of things to learn. But you didn't know how dangerous it was. Maybe now people have to know that these things are dangerous. I don't know. I don't know what happens there. So I'm not the one to get involved in this. Generally, we have to be safe. And we have to avoid things that are b'cheska sakana. There's no question. That's a halach and shulchan aruch, not to go to places that are makam sakana. Was this considered a makam sakana? I don't know because I don't know the details. But one thing I know for sure, that in your mind, you didn't think that this is a dangerous thing. Whether you were right or wrong, but you didn't think so. So it's a normal feeling that you feel horrible. You feel horrible because of what happened. But to call yourself a killer, that you're responsible for the shvichas damim, I feel that you're being too harsh on yourself. I would do something else, and that is focus on what you can do for the neshama. Because if you made a real mistake here, that you knew that if you knew that it was dangerous, and you convinced them, which I don't think is the case, then speak this over to a posek that you trust. But in most cases that I'm familiar with, you completely had no idea. You yourself would have done it. Maybe you did it before, and you were just trying to give these guys some fun in a hot summer day in the Ukraine. And you have to be able to recognize that and tell yourself, listen, we were just trying to go out and spend some time together and go on a nice plane ride and see the interesting places in Ukraine. And who in their wildest imagination knew that this is going to happen? So it's a horrible, horrible experience. But to blame yourself for what happened, how can you do that? How can you do that when you really had mamish no negiah here? Next question. Is it a good or bad thing to keep the boys' beds in the apartment, to keep their memory alive, or it's just going to awaken difficult memories? It's a great question. There's no mitzvah to throw out their bed, boy b'yoyim. You could leave it. After a while, if you want to move it, you could move it. But there's no mitzvah to, go take it and throw out get rid of the bed and get rid of everything that belongs to them. It's you could keep the bed if somebody needs the bed, perhaps. I know that it's not so easy with the Didis in Yerushalayim. Fine, you can give it to somebody. But I don't think that you have to go to one extreme or the other extreme. You don't have to leave it there forever, but you don't have to get rid of it. I don't think it's going to trigger more hard memories than you have already. You don't have to make a whole thing from it, but it's going to be there. And leave it there as long as you want, as long as you need, and then you'll see with time. You don't have to make these decisions right away. I'm a friend. I feel like I'm to blame. I did some bad things that are directly connected to the tragedy. For example, nivel peh. I spoke nivel peh. I spoke not nicely. Is there a way to soothe this pain of blame? Listen. None of us are perfect, and you may have made some mistakes. But to blame yourself for the death of these precious boys is not fair. It's just not fair. Du bist nicht der Eberste. You don't have so much power. You took a gun and you killed them. You took a knife and you stabbed them. You may have made mistakes in your life. Okay. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. We all make mistakes. That's why we have a month of Elul, to be mesaken and to repair and to learn to speak nicer. But to blame yourself for the death of these three boys, with all mechila to you, you're not God. And you don't run this world. And you're not the one who decided to kill them. And I doubt that you killed them. I don't know why you're taking that achrayus. Should we all learn from this? Yes. Should we all become better people? Yes. Should I fix things in my life that need to be fixed? Yes. But to blame yourself for the death of these boys is really not fair to you. It's just not fair to you. You have a Navi who came to you in the name of Hashem and said, you're guilty. So I don't think you could do this to yourself. I don't think there's a source for this. It's not fair to you. All of us could be better, and all of us should be better. We don't know why they died. The spiritual reasons for why they died, why Hashem took their neshamas, I don't know. And how do we even know that it was a punishment? Maybe it was for a different reason. I don't know Hashem's cheshbonis. Ein biyadenu loy mishalvas harishai v'loy misuriat tzadikim. Who knows? What we can do is learn from it how to behave, learn from it how to live, learn from it to take our lives, make every day count, to give preciousness to our life. But you think these boys want you now to be depressed and blame yourself for the rest of your life? Simcha will help their neshamas much more. Be besimcha. And I'll tell you why you should be besimcha. Be besimcha for the fact that you know that their neshamas are not dead. Some people think somebody dies and their life is over, but you know. You're a yeshiva bachur, so you know that their neshamas are la'adu la'olmei elamim, and their neshamas are in a very, very, their neshamas are in the chek, in the bosom of the Rebbeinu Shalom. And you know that you have a shlichus in this world to light up the world. So my focus would be to be here for them and to connect with them, but with simcha, not with blame. Question. Should the dira mates what should we do? We lived in the same room like them, the same home. Should we change our dira next zman or not? I don't think you have to, unless it's too hard for you. If it's very hard for you and emotionally you're not going to be able to sleep, you're going to have nightmares, and you're going to be very scared, then if it's helpful to you. But if not, you don't have to change the dira. It's fine. I don't think you have to change the dira. Again, if you feel emotionally that it's just overwhelming, and after a few days, okay. But that may follow you in another dira too. But if you guys are fine, you don't have to change the dira. What I would do is, you could put up a picture of them in the dira. Yeah, light a candle there for them. And as I told you, do every day, come together in the dira and do something 10, 15 minutes for their neshama. Learn something together, give tzedakah together, say tehillim together, daven together, do a chesed together. Maybe have a shir for them every day, 10, 15 minutes, 5, 10, 15 minutes. Maybe Mishnah, something else. Maybe a sefer that they really liked. Maybe there was a sefer that they liked, or a part of Yiddishkeit that they liked. I don't know their story. Unfortunately, I didn't know them. But that would be a very nice idea to do in their dira. So that you really create there a zecher for their neshama, and their neshama will have poshet nachas from it. Because a neshama feels and knows everything. Question, why did it have to happen in such a dangerous place? There is so much teva involved. I'm not sure I understand your question. You mean why it had to happen in such a crazy way with a plane crash? I don't know the answer to that, unless your question is something else. We don't know. Who understands why a neshama leaves the world and how? We don't know. Some people die in a hospital. Some people die in natural causes in their home. And some people just get sick, Rachmana litzlan, and some people die in these crazy ways. I don't know. I don't know. I'm thinking about Surfside, Florida, and Carlin, and Miron, Corona. And this plane crash, it's mind-boggling. It's completely beyond our understanding. It happened in such a dangerous place and in such a painful way. I don't know the answer to this. I really don't know the answer to what. Question. What could we learn from this practically about going on planes? Well, we all go on airplanes, we travel, we go in cars, we do that. But obviously, as I said before, we always have to avoid any dangerous place or any dangerous situation. That's true. We were a group of friends. Thank you for all your questions, guys. We're a group of friends. We were not on the trip. We feel pain, but we find it hard to communicate with the bachim that were on the trip because they feel much more pain. How could we be mechazik our friends that were there, because we weren't there, so we feel like a little more estranged from the whole story? Excellent question. And the answer is, Tayed Bachel, I think to be very honest with them. Tell the boys that were there. Say, I was not on this trip. Let's say you were not on the trip. Say to one of them I was not on this trip. I wasn't there when it happened. I wasn't part of the planning, We found out about it only later. But I just want to be able to be here for you. And I know I don't feel in the same way like you, because I don't have that guilt and I don't have that feeling like, we could have made plans today to be somewhere else, that day to be somewhere else. But I just want to be here for you. I think in these situations, we need to be very honest with each other. And you may tell him, you may feel that you can't really talk to me because what do I know? What do I understand? And you're right. I don't feel it like you, because I was in Eretz Yisrael. I wasn't there. It's a very different feeling. It was a very different experience. But just say, I want to be here for you. And that means a lot. Don't underestimate that. But be open and be honest and be respectful on both sides. Those who were there and those who were not there. Remember, don't judge people's emotions. People are entitled to have all types of emotions. Some of them are going to be very intense. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of your emotions. We know about schar and einish. For mitzvahs, we get rewarded. For avedas, we get punished. They were all such good boys. People are not perfect. So who says that they're not suffering right now? They were not perfect people. They were great boys, but they had their stuff, just like we all have their stuff. So maybe their neshamas are suffering now in Olam HaEmes. Wow. You guys are asking good questions. It's a good Chaburah, I see. Yeah, my Tzvi does that. I get Chaburah. So let me just say this. Let me say this. It's important to understand. Let's quote the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov said that Eibishter hat lieb jeden Eden, mer wie a Tato and a Mama haben lieb ben Yochid was is neulad la'ezi knusay. Hashem loves every single Jew more than parents love an only child who was born when they already had no hope of having a child. So we can understand how deep their love is, and Hashem's love is infinitely more. So you don't have to worry about their neshamas. Hashem is taking care of their neshamas, and even if their neshamas need to go through something, it's done with the tachlis ha'ava, with the deepest love, and with the deepest sensitivity, with the deepest affection, especially when they went through such an event, such an experience, which between you and me, I know that they weren't perfect, but as not perfect as they were, they never deserved this probably, right? So this is so shocking, it's so mysterious, it's so overwhelming. So even if there's anything needed, I'm sure everything was taken care of. And their neshamas are being dealt with tremendous love and tremendous warmth. And I would not worry that these neshamas are suffering. I really would not worry about it. They already went through such a trauma and such a transformation. And remember, all their families are suffering. That's also part of it. So I think it's much more right and much more emes al pi Torah to really know that these neshamas are in Gan Eden in Olam HaEmes, and even if they need some type of tikkun, whatever it is, it's completely done with the greatest love and with the greatest sensitivity, not chas v'shalom in a way of more suffering and more suffering. Especially when you know that these yeshiva bachrim were such great neshamas, and if they made a few mistakes, especially in our generation, when every one of the Jewish people is yakar mikol yakar, and kadosh mikol kadoshim, is precious and holy and sacred. Remember also that our souls come after thousands and thousands of years. Our souls are the last generation of Golus and the first generation of Gula. Our souls come after thousands of years of Golus. So Yidden today are betachlis hatara, betachlis hagedusha. And most of the mistakes that Jews make come from Golus and from our lack of understanding of how beautiful and holy we are. So most of our mistakes are not even our faults. That's the truth. You can look at all the Bachrim and you'll see it. You can look at all the Yiddish Kinderlach and you'll see it. So I am positive and certain that their neshamas are in a very pure and beautiful and sacred place. That's at least how I look at it. But I think that this is the truth. Baruch Hashem, $200,000 already came in for charity to be able to get involved in these things. That's what somebody wrote. Okay, that's wonderful. Listen, people are very affected by this. It's not an easy time. It's not an easy time. Okay, so let me finish. Another 50,000 to go. Let me finish with a blessing to all of you. Once again, if I could be here for anybody in the future, please don't hesitate to reach out. You can reach out through email, through the Moshe Tzvi. He can give you my email or text. And we should hear Psuris Toivus Tamid Kol Hayamim. Rebbeinu Shalom should give all of you the Chizuk, the Koiches, and the Chiyus that you need during this Tkufa. And I know that these three souls that were taken away, Doidi Yared Laganai, Lilkot Sheshanim, Elu Neshamas Tzadikim, it says in Medrash, will continue to love you and be connected to you, and you'll be connected to them until the great moment when we're going to be reunited. Somebody asks a question. This is a Tzoras Harabim, obviously. It's not just one individual. Does it need a tikkun that everybody should work on, or everybody should look what they need to be masakin personally? Listen, I am not in the position to be able to talk about what everybody has to be masakin. I think it's always better, at least what I could share, is that everybody of us looks at ourselves personally. And if there's something we feel that the rabbim can benefit, we can always bring it out and suggest it. But my life personally, I could work on right away. So that's how I think is a good focus. We should hear Psuris Toivus. I love you all. Hatzlocha, a good Chodesh, a good Yar, a good Gebench Yar, a Ksiv, Simet Toiver, Shana Toiver, Msuka. And thank you very much. Chazak, Chazak, V'nis Chazek, Tayir Bachrem.
This class is brought to you by theyeshiva.net. Please help us continue the classes. Make even a small contribution at www.theyeshiva.net/donate.